That conversation ended up going into, her grandmother's last name being Carlo. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But our last name is Carlo, of course. And then that ended up, I found out that her family lives, or her family and her grandmother and her great-grandmother, they all came from the same little town that my great-grandparents and all of them came from, in this little tiny town in the southwest side of Puerto Rico. And then I found out, like, her grandmother's and great-grandmother's name is essentially almost the same as my grandmother's name. So there's somewhere down the line, we're like a distant cousin. But she lives here, she's Sheila LaRussa from Calvin Monterbrook. So I got a new cousin. Yeah. So we should be thankful for the family that we have and didn't know we had. That was kind of cool. Yeah.
Does she speak good Spanish?
Huh?
Does she speak good Spanish?
She's from Puerto Rico. And,
I
went through my dad's sister. She's like, I looked her up on ancestry.com.
Oh, what did I tell you?
And then she's somewhere there. She could be like about as related as I am to Ricky Martin. She could be like a seventh cousin. So pretty exciting.
That's adorable.
I thought we were getting ready.
So I thought that was really cool. I was so excited about that yesterday.
You're basically
Get her to work for your
Well, you know who's my mom's cousin?
Shakira.
Oh.
I wish. No, I don't wish. You remember on Adam's Family, the big bug-eyed guy from the 90s, Raul Julia? That guy is a cousin of my mother.
Alright, so Dr. Kaver is part of our meeting right now.
Yay!
Yay! All right, can we start the meeting now?
It's been started.
All right, good. I don't know, you have it all organized. I'm just here entertaining.
Thanks. Okay, just a quick little flash up of our potential agenda, which may change per conversation, so we'll see how it goes. So we're just gonna start out with some acknowledgements and things, which we'll ad lib. Since Carlos, since you're already halfway up there, why don't you finish yours?
I don't see what's going on here. Which one's mine?
The one that says EC.
Okay, I see that. All right, so I guess since I'm up here already, I do want to say that I have noticed a huge improvement in everyone's work ethic and their attitude and their focus on patient care and completing things on time and trying to get things done. First with the patient care, and then try to keep things clean in the hospital and make sure that the hospital is getting cleaned up for the next shift. We have noticed an improvement in that and people's their attitudes as well, and I think that's something that you guys have to know that we notice. That's an improvement, and that is going in the right direction, and I'm really happy with that. I think it's really important just to remember the same old. Just remember to always help each other out, help your friends, help your colleagues out. When you're done with your task, before you kind of sit down and kill time, make sure that you ask your colleagues what else can you do to help them catch up on anything, right? Because that's going to be, because one day it'll be you who's going to be backed up and backed up with patient care, backed up with things you have to do, and it's going to be nice when someone else offers you the same help. So always help your colleagues out. Try to get everything done ahead of time, and that way everybody can kind of relax and enjoy the shifts as a group. But I think we get more enjoyment out of doing it that way than having any sort of resentment towards each other. So, but I've noticed a big improvement in that regard. But yeah, so. Good job, keep going, and let's get ready for a crazy holiday season. And I think it should be good if we all do what we're supposed to do and keep our heads in and keep our heads together and not let the craziness get to us. And remember, like, we're all going to have our moments, and just remember to just keep it professional and support each other when it gets really tough instead of being negative. So try to keep it positive with everybody. I think it's really, really important. So good job. And then Hannah, am I supposed to talk about the reminders later or
Nope,
now?
yep,
Later?
Yep.
Okay. So take it from here.
perfect. Everything else is kind of straightforward. Congratulations, Mary Ann. Don't forget the little people. Correct me if I'm wrong, we still have you at least through spring, right?
Do what?
No, we have you at least through spring before you have to leave,
Until
right?
July.
Till July. Christmas party everybody knows about and is definitely changing their calendars to make sure they're there for. We've arranged Ubers ahead of time.
What day is it?
The 5th?
15th at 5. That's dollars.
Good job.
Okay, there was a pumpkin competition and standard for one, so I don't know if you knew about it, but if you want to get updated, we've been trying to throw in through this whole year like little competitions for RDVMs and stuff. Like when we went to had a booth at the SBC conference, we had a drawing for doing a free lunch. Alfred Avenue won that one. We've done the pumpkin competition, and now we're trying to do one at least for ourselves, which we'll talk about again later. But
What was their pumpkin?
I don't have that picture.
Sorry, okay.
But I can be right post it so you can see it.
What's in this pumpkin? They drew a pumpkin and some spice. On a pumpkin, they called it pumpkin spice.
They were the only contestants.
It was us or them.
I mean, I was just wondering what beat the whole, like, 6 pumpkin lineup with.
Well, as a host, we shouldn't pick our own.
Well, I know, but still.
We have a moral victory in that one. Okay?
My side joke with the pumpkin, I think, was their thing.
It was.
Pumpkin spice, as one.
Actually, this would be a good time. Like, if there's any other shout outs that didn't make it on the board that you just like to acknowledge in front of everybody, this would be a really good time to do that. If they're still a secret, I guess keep them a secret.
I'll shout out for Ash. She's been going out of her way to help everybody.
Alright.
Really good chance. I want to shout out for Becky for finding a piece of tape that saved the CT. That was really good.
You get $1. That's it, $1, it's not a raise.
Everyone deserves a shout out.
We think more, well, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna play a game / activity-ish thing. So I don't have stage performance, right, or anything, because it'll be so much fun. Don't, you know, Michelle's gonna help me out with this one too. So basically, we have some backups if you need a little bit of help, but this is supposed to be a therapeutic exercise to help change perspective, being as how we kind of face different things during a shift. For example, like reception's kind of is like on the front line, and they're the first people handling like angry clients and inpatient clients and money stuff, and then sometimes we're obviously in the back, technicians are in the back, and we're taking the physical problem head on, and we're trying to communicate something up front, and there's a lot of messages to be relayed, and cleaning crews coming up and having to wipe up splatter diarrhea on the kennel that they just mopped 30 minutes ago. So I feel like at different times we don't always understand fully like what the role is of each person, or might not understand like their frustration. So to be able to share your frustration, to act it out, we can do it as goofy as possible as you want, and we can talk about like what would be the correct way for us to fix it so it's not so frustrating. Do you want an example?
Yes, please. I'll just pass it over here.
So like the situation for one of the would be when reception's trying to deal with a client that is upset about how long it's taking to talk to a doctor. We would need an angry client and a receptionist. And one of those people are going to relay how they feel and how they're handling the situation, and the other person gets to be the angry client.
Who wants to be angry?
I'll be the angry client. All those pent up angry clients, let it out.
This is therapy.
So you're gonna go up front.
Who am I yelling at?
You get 2 minutes or less.
I
I would love for a reception to be able to act out their part, what they feel is their
I'm fine, I'm
right.
I work tonight. I don't want to be
Or at least someone who is encountering these angry clients. I would like for you to be one of those people.
Tessa.
Tessa.
Tessa does a good job.
She does.
Yep.
You're so much like that, so you must go up.
She does. She does great.
She's a good de-escalator. So is Morgan. Where's Morgan?
I work
Yeah, we're in the
tonight.
Slack room.
I just told her I said I work tonight. I don't want to be pissed off.
Whoever's the first one will have to go again, so let's get it.
You got it.
You don't like this.
You guys are
Now listen, I'll be honest, you scare me the most, so like.
All right, so you have already had your animal in the back for 2 hours, and it was pale and had a hard time breathing, and it's a lab, and it's 13 years old.
What is going on? Where is my baby? I haven't seen a doctor. I don't know what's happening.
Your patient has been evaluated by the doctor and technicians. Its vitals were stable. It has a nurse with it right now, and unfortunately, we do have other critical patients in the back that need care.
That doesn't matter. My dog's the most important.
It's not. They're all dying. They're all dying. Sorry.
Okay, so.
Oh, yeah.
What'd she say?
Are we still, I'll say waiting still are we still doing that? Just after
Only for
hospice?
stable.
I don't offer that for real.
patients?
Oh,
But that it has to be okay by the doctor.
I just didn't know if I could throw that one in there. I like that one. I like to get them all.
But if you
Yeah. You can go home. We can call you.
probably.
She said he was stable.
He lied.
It's so stable.
At this point, this is when I go grab Asher or something.
Okay, so the situation is she's mad, she doesn't care about whatever it is you had to say, you already told her the process, and then we said everything's dying. Have you ever told anybody that everything's dying? No. Okay, so what could you do instead?
Let me go check.
Not just you.
Yeah, I do like to go, I like to say, okay, well, let me check with your pet's nurse. I'll see what the update is and I'll be back with you.
Can I see my pet?
I'll see if it's stable. If I can get you in a room and I have one available, I can move your pet in there, but if it's not, it's gonna have to stay with this nurse.
Can I go wait in a room?
If we have one available, possibly, sorry.
We've got 5 more minutes.
Uh,
Call the cops.
Please.
All right.
Dr. Stevens, you played that like you've seen it before.
That was tame.
So you can either volunteer to act out some pent-up aggravation with work, nothing outside work, or we can give you another scenario. Okay, I'll give you another scenario.
Or we can draw some names.
Draw
So,
names.
I don't know if it's volunteer while you know what you're up against.
Yeah.
We don't know, or you're getting thrown. Is it the same subject?
The next, an example would be when a reception's trying to deliver a message to the back, ... So when an owner calls, they drop off food, hey, I want an update, whatever, I would love to see what your spiel looks like when you try to address somebody in the back.
You want me to get somebody radio?
Yeah, where's my walkie?
It's like a message.
And then
It's
I
like
would like somebody who works routinely in the back to respond, or more than one person, the way that we typically tend to respond.
Okay, we'll be up in a second.
They're gonna give you like that.
It depends. Are we chaotic or do I have time to talk to this man?
Worst possible scenarios.
All right, I can get back with you as soon as possible.
Don't answer the question, act it out. You gotta say,
That is acting it out. Oh, sitting in the chair. I sit in the chair and I lean back to the receptionist.
Well, have fun, Katie.
Hey,
All right,
hey,
Allie, you're right there.
Alright,
Marla's coming.
Yay.
Alright, who's for reception and who's the tech with the DVM in the back?
Ooh, I think they should reverse roles.
Okay.
Cause I know
You're in the back, you're in the
I
back.
know you wanna get back to me for all the times I'm like,
So it's Sunday at like 4, and this client has already called 7 times, they've already dropped 2 items off, and we already have like 6 things we're triaging at the same time.
So they're calling? Is
They've
that
already
what
called,
it is?
yep, you're calling, cause you gotta come to the back and tell us whatever it is that you talked about on the phone and they're on hold, and you're coming back to get a message relayed,
Okay, so I'm just gonna walkie-talkie,
or whatever you wanna do.
yeah,
This is in person.
okay. Now, actually, if it's medication or anything like that, I'm gonna take myself and go to the back and let one of them know verbally okay, you, sorry. Hi. I know,
Oh, it's Carlo.
very
Yeah,
curious.
just having a conversation.
They're very distracted.
I know. What are they doing?
I don't know.
Lock the door, Allie.
Okay, I'm sorry.
He doesn't have key to get it anyway. Oh.
Don't step on that, Carlo, watch your step. Okay, so I have Fluffy's mom coming in about 30 minutes, and she's bringing some mirtazapine for Fluffy's ears. I will let you guys know as soon as she gets there. I'll bring it to the back and give it to you, since I'm letting you know that now, and since you're in your section.
Perfect.
Okay.
When she gets here, does she wanna visit?
She didn't say anything about that, but I'll ask her as soon as she gets here. I'll let her know.
Okay.
See if she wants to.
Sounds good, thank you. Oh, no, that was really cordial.
It was pretty cool.
I felt like that's not like all the time, like they're, it's not.
I mean, on the Sunday at 4 o'clock, and a Sunday at 4 o'clock, I'm like,
I will get more tasking from you in 30 minutes. Thank you for relaying the message.
Do they want us to?
I really feel
Okay,
like
what
it
if
should,
it's
it goes,
just, huh?
I said, I really feel like it goes well when you go back there
it
to
does.
like
Okay,
relay
tell me
messages.
you haven't gotten a phone call
Sometimes the
up
problem
front,
is just not knowing who's over what.
and
Right.
they ask you the
Sometimes
same
somebody
question
else-
every single week, hey, how much peroxide might to see of this person, they wanna throw up chicken bones, and then we say, oh, well, this isn't what you're supposed to do, alright, now use this much, oh, where's the wheel, and you don't get an answer the first 5 comments that you're given when you go back.
If what? If they, if they
And a lot of
just
the
have
time
no-
where there's a lot of aggravation, like in
Yeah.
the immediate result, is a response to whoever's coming back and asking the question. So if that's like not happening anymore, then wow.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I go and, if I have a question about medication, I'll ask a doctor, a question about. anything,
Last
really.
week, poor Morgan, she's like, we had like 4 of us gave her a different answer, and it was like not the right one,
Oh.
all at one time. We're like,
Very
sorry.
I mean, sometimes they're busy, yes, take a message, we get that, like, too busy at the moment to visit, so we'll like tell, but, I mean, I feel like messages.
Are we, have we been using like the copy, the carbon copy messages on the door and stuff?
Yes.
I like those.
Everybody's good on those?
I do like those.
Yes.
So
Love
there's
that.
On Mondays, Marlo, when you're trying to like come back and forth 1,000 times to tell us things, and then we forget, and we're doing
Oh,
other
okay,
things.
okay.
And then so-and-so's owner's been sitting up front for like 4 hours because they've got forgotten.
But that's where those notes, even if it's not a phone call, but if you put the time that the owner had a question or had a, you know, those notes, if you put them, give them to either the doctor's nurse or give them to the doctor directly, that can be really helpful, because that way, we sit there and we have it in our computer and hopefully we don't forget that. But that might be something to think about. But those are really, I find them to be helpful, because I'm very forgetful.
I think also with the walkie-talkies, when, it's just something serious and something that we need like one person in the back to do, if we walk, or if reception walkies to the back, and you've got 5 people that could reply, that one person that replies needs to be the person I think that takes care of it, because sometimes one person may reply, but the other person may be like, oh, I got it, and then somewhere in the mix it doesn't get done, and then they're coming back to the back again, and already, you know, verbally saying it, so. That's one other thing.
Yeah.
So we have to complete the circle of communication,
Circle of
circle of trust.
Yes.
Go back to that.
So just to, instead of starting another one, just to kind of transition to the next one that we had on the list.
We're good?
Sure.
Okay, yay!
Round of applause. It sounds like either he doesn't approved quite a sounds like on a day that we're not really taking our time with the button, or you should even use the radios and what you're hearing on your end and what we're really saying on the other end.
Yeah, the radios demonstrate.
Somebody in the back of your room.
Somebody got the radio ones in the bathroom.
Where's my headpiece?
Where is your headpiece?
You threw it at me.
You're an urgent state.
It's really, we don't even know how to get that
Y'all have any more flashbacks? I gotta come back for that.
Nina's let her know about someone that's up front.
I got something stupid up right again. I got something stupid.
What day
The technician
What
usually
day is it?
responds.
What day?
Today's Thursday.
Don't come on.
Any day you want it to be. Which should be any day that we're using them.
What is the day, man?
Alright, there's 3 hours left.
It's Thursday, it's 5 minutes after 6 on Saturday.
Can you hear him?
He always sounds so weird and muffled.
She said you need to articulate.
You do.
Don't use
She like,
Stupid headset.
Alright, pass him to somebody else.
I have a hit by car in the lobby. I have a hit by car in the lobby.
Like that, okay, more.
Hit it again.
Okay, we'll be right up. Okay, we'll be right up.
You need a stretcher.
Oh, good.
No.
Okay, one more person. Pass them on.
To the front row. Or do you want
Give it to
to?
Morgan.
Leave Peggy alone.
Morgan Ashton. There you go.
Oh, okay, just do it. Just do it.
What do I say?
Anything you want, Patrick. Let's go.
Say something. Anything on the lobby.
I have a cat in the lobby that's not walking.
What's your?
Oh, I have a cat in the lobby that's not walking.
You know better.
Somebody is on the way, or repeat, someone is on the way.
Somebody being Tyler.
I noticed this the other day, and it was sort of like, like sometimes, we'll be up there, we say, we'll be up there, give us, a couple minutes, we'll be up there. But we don't know if we have to rush, or we have a minute or two. Because if they are not walking, is the cat stable or unstable?
So
I don't
usually if it's
know,
not
because
stable,
I don't
I'll
know
be
how to
like,
But
determine
if it's
that.
obvious, right?
well, yeah, but like if I think something needs to come right away, I'd say I need a technician in the lobby. I usually don't try to give a reason. That's more of like a, okay,
I
I
say
need to
stat.
get.
I noticed
Like
that.
stat, or
Hey,
say
I have an
unstable,
example.
right?
This
I mean, just throwing ideas out there.
This one is a weird one, is, like you said, something like, we have a 80-yard cat up front, cause I think you said it one time, and then I took a minute to get up there, and the cat was actually like possibly blocked. But I didn't know until I got out there, so the whole 80-yard thing can get really confusing as far as why is it actually there? Like what's making it not doing right? Is it not eating? Cause then we should say not eating.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the lot of
And
ADR though,
say
is for the
more
owners can't really
details.
give me a reason why they're in.
Yeah,
But
that
you
is
say
what
like
I start
listless or pale,
Mhm.
don't say ADR, the owners said it's listless and pale.
I'll usually say like it's ADR.
If it's just
So I
a
just check
like
like
it's
carriers
ADR,
before I tell
and
them.
it can't work at or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, or press the owner's board, they're like, he's just not acting himself, why is he not acting, what's he doing differently?
Yeah.
Cause that'll help us gauge how fast we need to get up here.
And it's not always easy as a receptionist to do that. This isn't like critiquing anybody, right? We're not doing that. It's just, this is more like, how can we improve as a practice? How can we improve as a team on these nights that the technicians are quite busy in the back. Sometimes it is hard for them to break away. They have to make a decision, okay, do I complete my task here? Or am I the only person that can break away from this one task that I have to complete to go get this urgent case from the front? Or can I wait 3 or 4 minutes, right? So it is important just to be aware, right, and be cognizant of that fact, and dig in a little bit with the clients and ask them, or even try to even peek at the animal, make sure it's like, it's there. Obviously, you're not going to take the animal out on the desk and look at him, and there are going to be limitations on what you can do. We understand that, but just be aware that that information is really useful. And I think that way, I think it'll be a little bit smoother overall between the front and the back if we have that good, clear, and concise circle of life communication.
So if we've got multiple clients that aren't really giving you a problem, they're just telling their story over and over, what if they were able to say, like, if it has a potential risk of being serious, like if we have an ADR cat that is potentially blocked, but it doesn't maybe look like at the front of the cage, we don't have time to assess it, can we say like an ADR code red or an ADR code blue, meaning like you have time or you don't to come check, because things are legitimately dying, like either bringing it straight back, or they're saying, well, like there's a whole different, like bring a stretcher, get up here now, whatever, but the things that they're not sure about, and they don't have time to reassess it, can we not move to something like that?
Yeah, and I think that goes with learning the colors. I don't know the colors. So I mean, it might be good to like, have something like critical or dying. I think we can try to use some simple words to clarify.
Oh, yeah, like triage 1, triage 2, triage 3.
Oh, which ends what?
But either way, like this is good because that means that it's something that we can all work towards, and maybe with a little bit of time we can draw something like triage 1, 2, 3. The different levels, or green, yellow, blue, or sorry, green, yellow, and red, like a solid, right? So these are all little things that we can look at doing.
Yeah, and then what happens when I call a 3, because I don't know, and then they get it there and they're pissed off because it's a 1.
I feel like you guys, perception's been good.
So stable and unstable.
If we have our hands full, we'll radio back. I think Ashley was doing that the other way. Everybody has their hands full, so that's stable, and they'll give us a quick answer. And I think you try to tell me, you're like, I honestly don't know. So somebody came up with that.
So we can come up with some sort of like coded system, maybe in the meantime, if we don't know, they could choose suggesting we could use an indicative signalment, like if we said it's male cat, ADR, whatever, or something.
Male cat not going to the bathroom or possibly blocked.
And that's one thing too, don't assume the cat is blocked, because I feel like 9 times out of 10, they're not. And so say a cat with urinary issues,
Okay.
possibly not urinating, because.
Would you want male or female on there also to help you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that can definitely help.
Possibly blocked, okay, or no? You just want urinary?
You can say urinary.
I mean, you can say not urinating normally.
Okay, that'll work.
And that's simple enough, like, oh, that could be a blocked
Male
cat.
cat
Like, you're
urinary.
just leaking everywhere, yeah.
Generalized.
Okay.
That's good. I think that's appropriate. I think possible block. I think the receptionist calls back and says possible block, and it's not a big deal.
They've said that though, it's been blocked cats, and it's not, it's actually, it's right. Or it's like, yeah, it's just an unsafe, cat's not urinating normally, owner's concern is not being.
And that's where the sex is so important.
Yeah.
So I think cats and sex and pee is very, very important.
You have another scenario?
Yeah, I'm gonna skip over one. We're gonna try to squeeze in last two or maybe one. We need 2 people to be one a client and one person going over a $4,000 to $6,000 estimate.
$36,000.
$4,000 to $6,000.
I'll be fine.
All right,
You got a client.
My character.
Marcy, you wanna be a client?
Marcy.
Marcy, you're the client.
I'll do it, Ellen, Sean, and the client.
My character and everything.
He had a character, same here,
Marcy and Sean need to be married, and then
Double team.
Alright, so it looks like Fluffy is in a really bad position. Unfortunately, when they're this critical, it tends to be very expensive in order to get this patient back stable. Fluffy's looking at surgery tonight. He has what's called a GDV, his stomach's flipped. It's a surgery is life or death, we have to do it. This is kind of the cost of what you're looking at. If you want to kind of look at that, let me know if you have any questions. We can break it down for you however you'd like.
we have to save Fluffy.
Well, how did his stomach flip? What do you mean stomach flip?
It can happen from a multitude of different things. Sometimes it's genetics, sometimes they can drink too much and run around the yard.
We beat science diet.
A lot of times the
kibbles and bits at the gas station and then
So this is a short surgery, like there's no other way?
if we don't do surgery, stuff is fucked. The longer we wait, once the stomach flips, it's not getting blood flow back anymore. So the longer you wait, the stomach starts to actually necrose and die. So it's imperative not only that we get into surgery, but that we do it sooner than later. I know it doesn't give you guys time to really think things through. I know it's very expensive, and I'm sorry, but this is kind of one of those times of the essence.
So I just lost my pimping job. She's not that.
Both of y'all got D's, my friend.
Can we not, like, do the surgery, like, only if needed? Can we just get it?
It's needed, baby. We gotta do it right now tonight. No, we can't just give him a shot of Bubernex and send him home. He needs surgery.
Do we have to do antibiotics?
I mean, we can try without it, but he's probably not gonna go well for him.
And so what is this hospitalization?
So that's basically him staying in the hospital every 12-hour shift for him to be monitored and cared for and getting all the medications and fluids that he needs. Because unfortunately for this man to do the surgery,
Someone driving a red car has me locked in.
Red car.
But it's probably Damien.
Is it like a small, like,
Yes.
yeah, I see.
Brandon.
We're sending somebody back there right now.
sorry,
Sorry about that.
what was the question?
I got something in there. That lady cussing us out every time.
She's so fucking mean.
Say my name.
Are we done?
I mean, it's pretty good, so.
I don't need to cry, we ain't solved this whole mission. What's in front of us?
So do we need to just have a bunch of these scenarios that we make in there once things are caught up? We're like, all right, let's role play this. Only if Sean's doing it.
Alright, we're gonna put that shit.
You asking the right questions.
I was waiting for the payment plan, you didn't ask for a payment.
Yeah, I know, the payment plan.
You would have to get a receptionist to come in.
Be like, I got the best
I was
host in
gonna ask you
town.
about character.
You lost one? Job anyway, they all just left. Yeah, take care of your host. Keep your pimp strong, Sean.
Alright, we're gonna cut the rest of the game short, that was fun. We're gonna move on to kind of like status, progress, and goals, for the clinic, and we really wanted to revisit this a little bit, because one, I think it's important to look at every single year. Hopefully we can try to at least hit the most bold highlights of where we've been and try to figure out like, what the heck, where are we now? Are we literally like just paddling in a toilet bowl, or do we have a forward direction? So we're trying to at least nail down a few landmarks here, and then talk about, you know, whatever the future of the clinic, how that lines up with your, you know, continued careers. I keep turning around looking at Michelle, she wants to add on to this because Michelle designed this page. Thank you, Michelle.
I pretty much just put through the 5 years some of the milestones of different growth and things that have developed at Steel City. Which, I don't know if you want to touch on who's been here since the beginning.
But long time. Carlo is for one. One of them.
Let's see.
Tyrone.
Me and Tyrone.
Then right after that, then Summer. I'm gonna get the whole order wrong. It's like a circle to figure that out.
It was like 5 of us in the beginning.
Yeah, it was just fine.
It's that, yeah, it was rough.
That was fun.
And then I think Stephanie and Shelley, I think Shelley went to full-time right around Ashton and Stephanie joining full-time. And then after that, it was Becky.
No, it was back before me.
Oh,
Yeah, Becky
Becky was
was
right
here.
before you?
Yeah.
Did you do full-time before her?
Alan, how many people do we have now on payroll?
Altogether, county reliefs that
County
show up
relief.
once every year, 53.
So you go from about 5, it's 53. 5 years.
What, yeah, 4 or 5 years.
Exactly 5 years. So, you know, it's you guys have,
I was correcting Michelle beside the land.
so can you read some of those? Those are hard to read. Like,
Yeah,
let's
so
just go through it real quick.
start here. Not there.
I don't have a phone.
You got it this way.
Steel City ER vets open September 2017. Moving on, 2018, achieved change in public perception of ER medicine. It did take a little while, obviously, for people to realize you're open. You are not Acton Road. You are also not extension of VSB, and you are not the one from Bessemer. We are our own entity.
Still confusing.
It's, yeah. Larger referral circumference growth, added CT, QBEX, right at the end there, IDEX, ultrasound upgrade, changed machines, thank the Lord. That started out a little gray, pun intended, so. 2020, boo. Added availability to see patients. Our hours changed, so we weren't always well, we're still not 24/7 yet, but we started out just being nights and weekends being, we had a Friday night we were open, but in 2020 we opened Friday daytime, or earlier on anyway. So add availability to see patients Friday PM, 2 DDMs overlap begin offering CT services to the public, survived COVID rush, no employees furloughed. Ta-da! Okay, well, that was a really great point, but no one commented.
Yay!
Yay!
That's actually amazing.
And then 2021,
Yep.
endoscopy, hyperbarics,
Sacronasal.
sacronasal.
All the
That
good
was a
shit.
busy year, guys. You guys
Yeah.
survived that. That was good.
Vessel sealer is one of my favorites.
Vessel sealer, yes, yes. And 2022, what's the big one this year?
Survival instinct.
So got out of here.
Yeah, survival instinct failed.
Added
That was
images.
lesson learned. A lesson of what works.
Hopefully, forward goals discussed as far as like mile markers go is the surgical ventilator.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good one.
I
Yes,
have a
sir.
question. Do you ever try to celebrate the opening of this place?
We do.
Yeah, we kind of push that into the summer party. Like,
That's the
one big
anniversary
thing.
party.
But yeah, it was September 16, 17, somewhere there. 2017.
Woo! So the bottom has, forward thinking like year 10 goals, just, it's kind of like just draft-ish. It looks like I have some K-cups in front of it, but, we're still hoping by year 10 to get to 24/7 at a new facility. ICU level.
Parking.
Huh?
Good parking.
Better parking. Do you know, when we list like ICU level 2, do you guys know what that means? We put that as like a listed job title or hospital status. Your ER or your, more advanced like referral centers, particularly ER, as there's levels 1, 2, and 3 in the world of from treat and street, urgent care up to university medicine. And so our goal is to be able to accomplish across the board what a level 2 is. And so it requires certain toys, it requires certain level of skills, certain roles in that. And so that's where I think is important for us to kind of highlight, because if you're ever wondering like, well, what am I doing here? Like, what can I do? What's the next step after I complete being, first like my trainings reception? What do I do after if I'm gonna get licensed or not get licensed? Why does it matter if I learn skills? Why does it matter if I learn to be like the next space technician? What is the future for our doctors, and what are they gonna be able to do more of? And so a different day we can kind of dive into like more of the details with all of that. But if you want to look all that up, when you look into an ICU level 2, that's the type of environment that will require us to utilize the things that we continue to work on daily, which will also make us a big selling point when we get there. So it is a big goal, I believe. I don't know if they are now, since Auburn's kind of shut down their ICU some, at least to the public, but like Auburn, for example, their ICU is a level 2.
So it's an interesting goal too, because it allows us to kind of have more of a goal-oriented. It allows us to be just goal-oriented rather than kind of like profit-oriented, right? I mean that's sort of the name of our business is we really want to achieve goals, do really good patient care, kind of try to keep pushing the envelope of what we can do inside of this building with the people that we have. And so, if any of you guys do want to pursue like special special skills and that, or have, who do special CEs or special accreditations that you guys may need to achieve, certainly, come to me or Hannah and we can help you financially on that end as well, so that it's not such a burden on you. We want you guys to, if you want to try to achieve those credentials, we want to help you along that way. So the offer is out there for you guys.
Cool, awesome. And then, again, not really ready to establish, but things discussed in the future is medical boarding. Something that would be kind of set to, on its own like default once set up. We have we've heard about Dismukes and his wife are gonna have their independent, clinic, and to set up a good avenue for post-op patients where you don't have to have like a transfer patient come over and they wait during the triage system to be seen to get an estimate, see if they've got to have treatment because they want the treatment plan maintained. This would literally not have anything to do with this. This would be something that would completely bypass the doctor having to do an intake, and we would then take on a medical boarding like this, where there's not actually a proclaimed medical boarding facility in the Birmingham area yet. So this would not mean, hey, Purple's gonna take over that area. It literally would be a specific position for the night doing that, running that type of service. But just to kind of put that out there and break that down later, so, yeah.
I'm old, I want it.
You're what?
I said I'm old, I want it.
Okay. You want that to be your video? So, yeah.
But yeah, but they're gonna, we talked with her today about just sharing the space for a few months until they can get on their feet, and get their practice built out. But they would be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during the day.
So he's talking about, his wife renting this place from us as well. In addition to this, during like daytime hours, we're not open to use until they're ready, right?
Well, yeah, and one of the big reasons behind that too is because now, you have somebody that we can go to for our own animals, right? If anything happens with them, or same with the surgery side. Now we have a specialist that we can go to and hopefully have that really good relationship where they can help you financially, so it's not such a huge burden either, right? Where they can give you a heavy discount on we have like Marlo's got a wiener dog, so if something happens to that dog, hopefully it's not such a huge financial burden to go to someone.
I already have it on speed dial, forgive me,
So but anyways, we want to have a good mutual relationship with them. Medical boarding idea is really, a good idea as well. Just try to, I think we can have a symbiotic relationship where we help each other out.
Will that alter my schedule at all?
I haven't, yeah. This is all very new.
Okay.
This is all brand new.
Okay.
We're gonna play it by ear. We'll get more information as we go. We'll get that out to you.
Okay.
But it shouldn't affect anything on our shifts.
Is she gonna be doing surgery, and are we gonna have to take care of post-op patients?
If we,
TBD,
they're mostly
we haven't
outpatient.
talked through.
Yeah, but yeah, to be determined. But there's certainly, we may have to adjust for that, but again, we're there to kind of help them out. But most of their patients are gonna be outpatients, and that's sort of what their practice is set up on. They're gonna have a few, I'm sure, every now and then that are gonna be overnight watches, but let's just kind of, we get more information and kind of keep you guys posted.
Something that may just pose as a positive, and we can move off of it. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, for anybody that don't know Dismukes, if that happens and you're working for Dismukes, you better be the A-K. Like, for real.
It's just his.
It says no one's gonna work. He's not working here. No, he won't be. It's just.
This is same.
No one's gonna be working for her. It's just they're gonna use the form.
She may not be Dismukes, but.
We just say she does her papers, she does her paper text.
Yeah, so, just to reiterate, we're not trying to do what Acton Road and DSD had as far as like take over for their patients. This is a completely separate
It's
service.
more like a Dr. Hubbard situation where she's using the building and we might cross paths, but it's more facility type thing.
Yeah.
And just
This
short
is-
term, it's like 2 months.
Yeah, well, that is, yes, but talking about the idea of what the medical boarding thing is supposed to be and get forward to.
Yeah, it's just like any referral, basically, from other clinics.
There's one more pieces. We're gonna exit this because there's like this, there we go.
It might have been because I casted it when you were.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to kind of run down all of these little like reminders, and some of them might invoke discussion, I don't know, but images. So, I felt like this is something that really could have helped us more than it is already, so I don't know if we need to just do some reminder clinics or not, but we've talked to, our field representative about it to see if we could go ahead and like kind of either take I know we started like an online poll, or we can take some notes here in the meeting about what questions you have now that we've had it in the building for a little while, and then we can have them do a new visit or a Zoom meeting when we're actually, when we're here. They said they've been there hours some to when we're open, to talk to people directly, so you don't have to come extra again, so that we can get this, into being more habitual, because this is something we really could be using as our best friend frequently, every single fecal, setting out our pathology all the time, and getting that. So I would love to hear what I think it's just like lack of use, like not knowing about how to do it, or forgetting that it's there, or its opportunity has not really been readily available lately.
Marissa, what are your thoughts? I'm just gonna call people out. Images in general, how you've either utilized it or not.
I haven't really had any problems with it. Sometimes I feel like there's a lot of programs and tabs though. That was confusing at first.
What'd you say, Ashton?
I feel like sometimes for the fecal, it can get pretty annoying if you don't have enough of the sample. It'd be faster just to do it myself. But for like smears and cytology, so I think it's really helpful. I think it's more just trying to get past the annoyance of having to use it versus me just doing it myself for fecal.
So, so me and Tyler were using it the other day, and we were doing a fecal, and so I noticed that when you put it in the centrifuge, we were putting it with the bigger side up, and the pointed end down.
Upside down.
So we were putting it in like that, and I think I was noticing it wasn't working or something. No, wait, actually, it's supposed to go in that way.
The pointed, the conical end should go
It
down.
should go down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's good too.
The liquid should go down.
Yeah, so the liquid should go down, so it goes through the what do you call it? Thing, the green thing, yeah. I think so. But it started working after that, and then there's a certain way the images, like on the actual glass slide cover, or the slide thing that you put over, the images lettering should be at like the bottom left-hand corner, or something like that, so we didn't know any of that, so it was like twice we ran it through and it didn't run, and then the third time we ran, so. There's just, you gotta just read through it really closely,
Maybe another step by step.
step by step.
Do we have a video? We have
Yeah.
a video.
All the videos are on Zoetis online.
And there's a little cardboard thing too for the slide, kind of show you which way it goes, like as far as the writing goes, like a, cause I use that.
So, do you think that is it the troubleshooting, lack of use again, or just like not super confident that it's gonna be successful, that has led this to not be evident like all the time?
Yeah, I think it's the success rate of it. I think it just, sometimes,
So we can be more confident how we
user
use it.
error, and then it doesn't pop up that anything was shown up, but it doesn't necessarily say that there's an error running in. It just may not show anything up on the slide for all the results. So maybe you just, I don't know, maybe there should be videos for like a fecal, and then a blood smear, and then.
There are, so I'm pinning it in the Steel City group, so when you guys go back to Facebook later, I pinned it on the top, so it should be something, it was from September, that we could sit down and look at the different videos, but we have even how to make a blood smear, how to stain a slide, all the different things to make it as consistent as possible. But we can definitely set up in person with like some of our own animals if we need to on some of these to get more hands-on practice.
I know as a doctor personally, I'm very type A, and if I haven't looked at the slide, I don't know if I trust the results personally, so I think that's my concern is, I don't trust a computer.
On any of them, or just the specific, like, so. we're
In
talking
general.
Fecal blood smear, whatever.
Mainly the fecals, I've even seen some results where they said something with like Cox City, I'm like, I don't know
Yeah,
about
there was one
that.
we had one day, it said it was Cox City, and then like when you actually looked at the slide, like
It was
it
artifact.
wasn't, and so then I had flagged it, but I don't really know how to check.
Do you look at the images, the image capture?
Yeah,
And it was just like one single thing, and they're like, it's Cox City.
it was
and
like
I'm
the tiniest, tiny zoomed in amount, and then I was
Yeah.
like,
I don't-
artifact it was like, yeah.
And I think we eventually got another sample, and I think we did a manual, but, it's just one of those things that's like, I don't know, I have trust issues.
So Dr. Tabor asked, show of hands, who feels confident setting up a people
For the images or manual?
for the images?
Anyone confident? One is confident setting up a fecal? Four people.
Wait, say that again.
Four people are confident setting up a fecal on images.
What about a psychology on the images? Then I can. Thank you. So look at these people around you that are raising their hands. Those are the people to start tapping on the shoulder and be like, hey, help me with this. We'll definitely set up some more training.
Alright. Manual PCB tool and solids, are we still doing those, or remembering to do those as frequently as we can in comparison? Great.
As frequently as I can.
I've been finding a lot of,
Out of curiosity though, how long are you spinning your hematocrits down? Like, are you doing it double until it doesn't change, or are you spinning it for an extended amount of time to make sure that you've spun it down enough?
I did mine for 3 minutes.
3?
Yes.
Do you repeat it?
Yeah. That's what I was always taught, was 3.
I
I
thought
thought
maybe
you
at
don't
least
spin it
five.
long enough, you don't actually see like that little formation.
Yeah.
And then the PCBs are like always way higher than what's on the.
Yeah, so you'll probably get a lot better matches if we try to move to this where the setup that we have, when speed, size, and because we're kind of makeshifting the use of what we're using, it should be almost the equivalent of like 9 to 10 minutes. So if we're concerned about it being spun out, then do your 3 minutes and check it and do it again. And you know, like if it's got a different value the next time, like it probably needs to happen again to make sure it's go down. So either do it full 9 or 10 minutes, or keep repeating it until it doesn't change. You might have some of those hematocrits that match a little bit more.
I was always taught it was supposed to be 10.
I was taught 10.
So maybe we need to have a standardized.
Each centrifuge
It's
is
different.
different speed though, so that's where y'all are getting y'all's
Yeah.
different numbers.
Microhematocrit is different, specifically a capillary tube centrifuge is different, or whatever, so we're technically,
So we need to standardize it.
yeah, we need to standardize it so we can kind of provide each other's, values more.
We're gonna standardize it too then.
I think when we spend about 10 minutes, they pretty much match the.
What we need to figure out is based on our machine, what our equipment setup is gonna be, and we can scientifically look through it and make sure that, and come up with protocols, so that when I say it's 34%, Marissa says it's 34%, everybody's getting the same thing, and it's not, oh, we're anemic now, well, no, somebody just didn't spin down the sample 8 hours ago, enough, or whatever it was. Because then there's potential human error, and then there's something that could either be missed or not treated appropriately.
So.
But just to find out, there's like less than 20 minutes on it before we go.
Sorry?
What's the standard now? Now that we're all here.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing is, everybody knows the difference between the 2 different types of tubes that we have, the blue and the red, and when to use those and when not to use those.
Blue, what do you use it for?
Red is
Red is right out of the syringe. And why is that? And so what would happen if you took a purple sample and put it in a red tube?
It have double anticoagulant in it. Just make sure that your blue rims are your plain ones, and your red ones are your heparinous ones.
There's also a certain amount you put in blues that mixes with the mixture that's in there. There's a certain amount that you have to put in the blue tops for it to work. So if you only put like 0.5 to a 1.
Not the blue tops, we're talking about the hematocrit tubes.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
That's okay.
But still, that too.
Alright, well, until anybody says anything otherwise, let's try to shoot for 9 to 10 minutes. Whether it's red or blue, just make sure it's packed really well, or you can do it in 3-minute segments. Cool?
Yes, ma'am.
collars. Yeah, so we've tried this, so it's like disappeared, and then we're like, where are they, and who's doing it, and what's the answer? So, I don't know if there's some people that are like unfamiliar with using those before. They don't have to be that much of a strangulation risk as long as they're put on correctly. As well as it doesn't need to go only through the belongings unless it's like a cat carrier is fine. But with these, when we get to a point, when we get mad holidays, so we got Thanksgiving come up, and we've got Christmas, and we've got New Year's coming, it's helpful for every animal coming to the back to have a collar on, because there's multiple times we're walking in, like there's an animal that doesn't have a name on the kennel because they're trying to move really fast, or it has the wrong name, or we've got a new kennel.
It has diarrhea, and we have to move it, and it's not labeled, and somebody says, why isn't this labeled? It's like, well, it was, but I'm cleaning it.
Yeah.
And it happens.
So my proposal is, the other thing that's supposed to happen, what's supposed to be helpful to you, is when a technician comes up and is getting a patient, and they can look at this check-in sheet, so they don't have to communicate with the people that are here if they're on the phone. They should be able to look at this check-in sheet and see who's next. So if you've been to the doctors that have the pull and peel name lines, but sometimes it's a pain for us to try to have to remember what to write on the collar. So if we get pull and peel lines for our check-in sheet, when you come up, you take that name, the owner has to write it on themselves for you, and that tag would get put, it's a sticker, keel, line item, and it gets put onto that white collar so you don't have to write it. If that helps. Does that make sense? And then you know for sure, like, they have to acknowledge that obviously, like, that animal's been taken back, or that client's been addressed, and also you can't get the name wrong.
I think that's a good idea.
Can't read what they wrote.
Yeah, they have to, yeah. We're gonna have to come back to this, get ready to do a board discussion. We're gonna run out of time. Discharge presentation, that was just a quick reminder. Dr. Carly wanted to make sure that whenever we discharge, whoever we're discharging is presentable to the client. Catheters out, they don't smell like pee, they're cleaned up and not extra dirty, right?
No poops, no bleeding.
Okay. Do you know how sick call-outs work? 'Cause we're recircling back to trying to get everybody to know what a handbook looks like with that, or what we expect or have to expect with everybody and the way that looks. Yeah, so sick call-outs, which are typically happen on the same day. The first step, of course, that needs to happen, we need to try and help get that shift covered. Whoever, if you're calling into your supervisor, they can help you try and get a hold of other people that are willing, or if we can get it covered, but you need to try to help make the effort. Unless you're in the hospital and you can't talk, your tongue's cut out, but besides that, you need to try to help get a replacement for that. And then, the same thing, there needs to be a doctor's note involved, because if you are legally too sick to come into work, then we have to have legal authorization that you're allowed to come back. And so when you go to get a doctor's note, you bringing that note back allows us to permit you to work. So if you only feel sick one day, and you find out you have COVID, and you're like, hey, I'm fine, but your doctor says you can't come back for 5 days, you still can't come back until they say it's okay. So that's what it is. So I realize, like, sometimes you can't go, you don't want to necessarily have to sit in the ER for 12 hours, so I don't feel that it necessarily has to be dated for the day that you get sick, but it has to be done and dated before you come back in, if that makes sense.
How does that work?
It's stomach
How would that work? Like, would you go like to the hospital after you get well and then get it?
No. If you call out because you're vomiting and diarrhea tonight, tomorrow go to the ER clinic and get checked out, or stand alone or urgent care and get a doctor's note to excuse you from work. Usually they'll ask you, when did you get a notice for work, or what dates does this need to be covered, you can put it on there. Originally, we said the rule was it needed to be the day of, but the problem is we have night shifters, and nobody, most of these urgent care clinics are closing between 6 and 10, and their only option is to sit up, downtown for 12 hours before you get checked out for a cold, and that's stupid. So to be able to give the opportunity to get to a doctor, whether that's making an appointment or getting at least just into an urgent care that verifies that, that's supposed to help, so that you can at least get that done before you come in, and then that clears you to work. Because otherwise, if you come back and you shouldn't have, we get in trouble. Workman's comp. we're gonna make that one brief, at least so you know the how to, what to, we can break down more of like all the ins and outs and I guess you can say benefits therein, but just so that this is a hammered out smooth process. From here on out, there is one compiled document, it is 3 pages long, the first page is a step-by-step, the second page is information, and the third page is just about our insurance, our account info. I'll explain why. Every single time there is an injury, a form needs to be filled out whether you go to the doctor or not. No, that doesn't mean every single time you get a scratch, but in theory, every time, if blood is drawn, so if it perforates your skin or it causes a bruise, there really needs to be a report filled out, because if something happens, develops later down the road and you have to go to the doctor, we have to have on file that there is a report to prove that that was done at work. So, when these events happen, those need to be filled out and a copy left in Alan's box. They are in a red folder labeled WCI, and they're in the OSHA cabinet. There is also a map of which clinic to go to, which is open 24/7. So if you're going to that clinic, fill your form out, copy it, and take it with you, and they will use whatever information is on there that should give them all their answers, that should tell them that's your work verification, that's your where to send the invoice for insurance and all that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if you do go American Family Care, they may or may not have a doctor on duty. If they don't have a doctor on duty, they're not going to see you. And the other thing is they'll be calling somebody for permission to treat you before they leave and take you back.
So all in all, just go to the clinic that's listed on there with the address.
The shift leads have access to information too. If you guys
So you're
are
right
in the
there.
middle of like the chaos of things, like go to them first, just to cut to the chase.
We also made a step-by-step that will hang, we're gonna hang it somewhere.
If you do break
Still,
skin,
probably need to, because we got to set.
Oh, you did, okay.
If you do have like an injury that breaks skin, and we don't go for any reason, is there like anything like repercussions or?
Yep, you can mark on the sheet that you chose not to at that time. I mean, honestly, like if you're like, whatever, I don't wanna fill it out, fine, but when you go back in 5 days and you have an infection that requires antibiotics and pain meds, work can't cover it.
But
You don't
as long
have
as it's
proof.
filled out, then-
Right. No, if it's filled out, that's fine, but if you don't fill it out. If you don't go right away, that's okay. There's a time frame, but just earlier is better. Mhm. Marcy?
as long as you fill it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we're on shift, when we're working, the hospital that we have for workers' comp is UAB Medical West Emergency Department. Like it's a true emergency.
The address is on the paper and there's a map.
So that's where we. So that's where we are. Go ahead. I'm gonna get the.
Open it.
Super fast though. The only thing I wanted to at least, at the bare minimum, bring up about the body taxes. We had one or two recently where after the remains came back to the clinic. We need to make sure that we're telling everybody that that's not okay, because we can't have remains come back to the clinic.
Body care goes.
We were having issues with non-delivery. Did we get that figured out with the agency? Like they were sending it, they weren't delivering it to the people's houses, they were going to like some pickup place, like.
So if the people aren't home or if it's at an apartment, they have to take it to the pickup place.
Do we
because it's
resolve
there.
our
But that just
delivery
means
issues
whoever
with
gets the call about it
frequency?
needs to do the due diligence and call
Well, right now,
it.
but there is a new rep.
Because they'll be able to let you know
That's all I know right
where
now.
it's at.
I
They'll
know
give you the
the
address and
answer.
everything.
So what the last I heard was that the clinics that are on, they have a ton of clinics. And those clinics, they'll deliver it there for free. The clinics that aren't on their thing, that aren't in their group, then there's like a $40 delivery fee. But all we did was just kind of mash everything together. Like we charge like $5 extra for everybody.
Yeah.
So since it's, I was like, what we do, so since it's already on their charge for the earn and everything, we just send it to their houses because by the time that we figure out which clinic it has, it's taking up more time to figure out if they actually deliver there versus if they don't. Sometimes it doesn't make sense because they'll come here, not go to Bluff Park. So we just send everything to their house.
It's supposed to
They're already paying for it,
It's,
technically.
well, I mean, the price hike went up, just for like to kind of spread the wealth out. It wasn't for everybody. It was
Okay,
just
so,
for
yeah, what Haley made
we're
it sound
supposed
like
to send
it's
it to.
gonna cover all that.
It doesn't cover every single hospital. I mean, we need to send it to their RDBM. And I thought we were supposed to, they never got us a list.
They gave us a
They
list.
gave us.
They gave us a list of who their hospitals are. So if that hospital's on the list, we send it to that hospital. If the hospital's not on that list, then we send it to their house.
It just makes it a little bit difficult when you're in the room talking about it together. It just makes it a little bit difficult when you're in the room talking about it together. It's like, okay, well, it can either come here or I have to go up there and check now. And see if it does go to your vet. So usually I just like initial by your address so they can make sure that I can have proof that you told me this was your address.
We'll have to work on
And then,
that.
yeah.
That's the receptionist thing. So we'll work something out that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, we pretty much, I'm gonna step them back to the office.
So we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're not supposed to be sending it to the house every single time. It's like only like 25% of the time it's supposed to be. That's how we did our math.
Okay.
We did 100%.
Alright, professional standards and especially for visitors.
I was gonna skip these two. But short version, we have internships coming. We have like our externship versus internship versus
Preceptors.
yes, preceptors. So and one specifically, I think the first one that we'll probably experience is at the end of this month. Who will actually be a dual purpose thing because it'll kind of be sort of a job interview as well. So we want to reinforce and make sure that we are staying up to par as best we can, getting stuff clean and not slapping them on the butt and stuff.
Keep it positive, you know, keep your sexual harassment to a minimum. And just remember to, what's Dr. Stevens' name? Dr. Stevens, what's Dr. Cameron's name? Doctor, yes, okay, but we put a doctor in front of the name every single time, right? So just remember to always be professional, especially for the clients and other people. All right, it's really important. And then Heska prismatics, use Heska when you can, unless the blood is like hemic or hemolyzed and whatnot.
Or injured.
Or atric. So use Heska when you can, as much as we hate Heska. We gotta try to keep using Heska when it's appropriate. 1 year.
Not soon enough.
Yeah.
1 year left, guys.
Okay.
Alright.
All right. So basically, I don't know if you guys are. We now have our referral service coordinator, which is Dawn. She's in the back, in the hallway. Turn around and wave. She has already started reaching out to multiple clinics and visiting them. We're trying to kind of make them aware of what we're trying to implement as a new system on making like referral services. So for example, we want them to fill out a specific CT referral form. Here is a specific HBOT form. And so it is already like, here's the plan, here's my record. It's check marked on the sheet whether they are sending records or not, so we know when and what to expect. So everything is done a little bit more formally so that there's not as much sloppy communication. The goal is to have them, if possible, as long as it's not like so sick dependent that it needs to happen that day, is to try to divert those services on Monday days between like 8 and 4 and Friday days between 8 and 4. At that point, when we're trying to get those scheduled, I'm gonna try to make, and I'll try to help her as well, try to contact somebody who is going to be available to complete that service in addition to those that are already here. So unless it's just dead, we are not trying to overweight more appointments to those that are already on shift. We're trying to arrange somebody to be available. So if you're working on your HBOT certification, you would probably be a good head point person to be on call for us to say, hey, I've got one at 10 o'clock on Monday, and you wanna come in and facilitate this. That's just one of the things, but we'll just try to skip all this. That's the long and short of that. I know there's been a lot of questions floating around about like project updates and things that aren't fixed yet. So I'm just gonna say, in short, of all those projects that are listed on updates, they are in the works. Yes, they are legitimately trying to get improved and updated. They're just not completely there yet. The one that affects everybody the most, I feel like, is the IT when it relates to our internet. So just so everybody knows, it's not about our speed, and restarting our system is not necessarily going to fix every time there's a slow issue. What we found out is we've just become so evolved in all the things that we use that a lot of our hard drives cannot handle what we're doing on our computers. So you could amp it up as much as you want, it's not going to make a difference. So we're talking to 2 companies right now, getting some quotes so that we can get those replaced and then actually have a legitimate IT guy.
Yay, thank you.
So we did increase the speed today.
We did did, but it won't matter until the audit department. Okay, yeah, we're gonna skip that.
Is that it? Oh my, well,
Yeah, we're gonna have to skip a lot of these things, but, unless there's something, anybody has questions on things that are like pending that we have time to go over, you wanna pop, ask them real quick, I can try to answer. You'll probably hear or see some posts about, Ashton, we talked with Ashton yesterday or recently about coming up with some new ideas on trying to get blood products for the holidays for when we are short, and coming up with, alright, if you wanna talk about that, Ashton, system.
Yeah, I guess depending on the week prior to the holidays, we need to try to keep an eye, like an eye on how much blood we have, so we can either have, if we don't have donors that want to be on call if you're not working, so you can bring your animal up, or we may need to have somebody come up and just donate, so we have some at the hospital for spare. So I may be talking to some of the people that put their animals on Facebook, and if you haven't, let me know so we can talk about it.
Alright. We'll repost this, that's all the most important things. Thanks.
Thanks, if you wanna pick up any extra shifts, let Hannah know, even if they're half or partial shifts.
Yeah, please, thanks.
Also,
Also,
use the help.
look at the open shift schedule.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We still use that.
We do.
Well, 6 o'clock, move chairs.
Connie, can you share the note? Do we know who's working Christmas party
Yeah,
night?
yeah, yeah. So, ready to go for it. So, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah.